Okay, Overwatch 2 Season 9 has been a lot of fun for me personally. I've really enjoyed it so far. The projectile size is really big for a lot of heroes. Some are a little bit too egregious, but for the most part, it's a way better patch than I give it credit for. And I feel like the general consensus of those who at least are chatting in the Twitch chat say they are enjoying it. Obviously, you're going to have some outliers who absolutely hate this patch. That tends to happen. But I would say the majority of people are liking it. I get more of a dopamine rush every time my hit marker hits somebody. It feels good, and nobody can deny that. It feels good when you land your shots, even if some aren't supposed to land or not. As long as you kill the person, you get that rush. So like you're tricking yourself into enjoying it a little bit more than you actually are. Or maybe it's real. In any case, everybody keeps coming to the stream. Oh my god, KarQ, what do you think of the patch? I played 30 ranked games at a high level. I played 5-stack with my Overwatch CS team with Apply, Emong, J3, Custa, and myself. And then I ended up playing with Warren, Aspen, Flats, and Jay after everybody else dipped. Me and Jay were from our team were hanging out. We got groups and we played 30 ranked games at a high level. I have a pretty good idea of what's good, or at least not good, but like my first impressions of day one. I won't even say definitively what's meta and what's not. This is just my opinion after 30 ranked games. The TLDR is the patch is good. I'm gonna go run down in order all the heroes and whether I think they're good or not. Not doing a proper tier list. A quick like one sentence. So D.Va, I saw Emong flex onto it a few times. D.Va feels okay, not terrible. Probably middle of the pack, average, a little above average, like a B. Doomfist, the 4 or 5 Doomfists I saw, still a very small sample size, did not think he was very good. I played against him and with him in quick play later on the night with a lot more of a chill lobby, and he seemed to be performing a lot better. But in the top 500 lobbies, we ran into one of the top Doom 1 tricks, and he was just getting absolutely blasted. Because he's able to be headshot, and when I play BAP, when I played Zen, it's so easy to headshot him, even if he's blocking. You know, he does have some extra HP, but it's like 75 white health. It doesn't really matter when everyone's landing so many dinks on him. I think Doomfist is taking a big L this patch, and I know a lot of Doomfist players were saying that he's bugged a little bit even more with some of the tech, so I think Doomfist is like below average, maybe C. Junker Queen, hit or miss. The few games I saw with Junker Queen, some were popping, some weren't. All in all, Junker Queen's wound healing, she's reliant on self-healing, and she's constantly debuffed with a DPS passive. So she's naturally not healing as much. The only buff they gave her was the ultimate Rampage is 90 bleed per target instead of 60, which is pretty much in line if you have the DPS passive kicking. The only upside is that Junker Queen knife is massive. That projectile got buffed and it is extremely easy to get pulled by it. My only 2 experiences with Queen right now, Emong played it for half a round and we got rolled, so we swapped off. I played against Hawk, an Overwatch League player, twice in the matches yesterday, and he just forced Junker Queen to kind of just see how she was like, and Emong and our team, we did kind of roll them. Although we were 5-stacking, I don't think he was stacking. I think he was solo queuing. Something with matchmaking is a little weird where like we're 5-stacking, we keep playing against solos and duos still. I don't know, we had a coordination difference against his Queen, so we did end up winning. So my impression of her was not the greatest, but she on paper doesn't seem too bad. She's very snowbally and can absolutely work in the right situations, but I would say she's middle of the pack right now. Mauga, I saw 1 game, so not enough data. My impressions are that he's pretty meh, a little bit below average. We got smoked by Orisa yesterday. Emong was getting absolutely smoked by Orisa, and we were trying some different comps, and like the enemy Orisa was just running into our team, surviving for very long. Orisa's buff this patch was that she got 75 armor, which is incredibly valuable because armor has a 30% damage reduction. 75 armor scales like crazy, especially because she can keep stacking overhealth with Fortify to kind of maintain that little armor threshold and stay healthy. So Orisa's super tanky. Her projectiles on her primary fire are so thick. The energy javelin didn't get bigger, but your projectiles, remember like a season ago, they rebuffed the fall off damage range, and they're literally cannons right now. I think Orisa's a pretty good brawl tank right now. Same with Ramatra. Ramatra seems pretty solid as a brawl option as well. Both of these, you can't go wrong with either. I think the people who are scrimming on the patch, like professional level, above the ranked level, some are saying Ramatra is a better brawl, and they're practicing with that at this current time. But I think for rank purposes, both of them are great options. Reinhardt, even though you saw he got the big damage buff on his swings, he still feels kind of medium, middle of the pack. Ryan can still certainly work on some maps, and you still have the benefit of familiarity. You got somebody who's played Ryan since Overwatch 1, 1,500 to 3,000 hours versus Ramatra, who came out a year ago. You'll have someone who just has like thousands of hours over a Ramatra and can maybe like outmaneuver him. Rein Shatter, still very good. You probably don't really want to Fire Strike anymore after a Shatter. Your swings do the same damage now, which didn't get any scaling difference. And Rein does have the benefit of a shield, so he can stop the DPS passive of the 20% debuff. He can slow it down if he really needs to wait for a little bit. Some of the other heroes don't benefit from that. I mean, Ramatra can do it. Orisa, not really. She's always going to be debuffed in a sense, but that 75 armor makes up for it. So Rein is honestly not bad. I'd say he's B tier. He's like middle of the pack. Roadhog, biggest L this patch, probably in the lowest tier. He did not feel very good. I played him half a round at a quick play game later. Did not like him at all. I played against one hog and ranked. He did okay, but I looked at he had like the lowest damage. He had like 3k damage and 6k healing. Roadhog was just sitting there being a damage sponge and just vaping the entire time. He can't really confirm any kills with a single hook and shot, even with Pigpen. So it didn't feel, he was not impressive to me. Sigma, surprisingly, not bad. Primary fire orbs are really good. He did lose his one-shot combo with the rock primary fire follow-up because everybody has more HP now, but he's a fantastic poke option. If you're going for brawl, you play either of these three. And if you're playing for poke, which is still very viable on a lot of maps, Emong was playing a lot of Sig, still very, very good. I think he got shield health in this patch, which is better than white health. So he's extra tanky, and he has a benefit of mitigating damage with shield and suck for a moment to like let the DPS 2-second debuff pass the 20% anti-heal or whatever. Winston as well, for one of the dive options, Winston was low-key great, and Emong doesn't play that much Winston, but we were actually smoking people when we were running a Winston fast comp with Lucio. And Winston actually scaled with the patch because they buffed his Tesla cannon damage from 60 to 75, and they improved his primal rage smacks. Like, some heroes didn't get a damage buff in this patch, but some did, and Winston's one of the ones that did. He's a great dive option. You know how like some metas in Overwatch where it's a brawl only, or it's like a poke only? It was Sigma on every map. But right now, brawl seems okay, poke with Sigma seems pretty good, and then dive with Winston, fantastic. Ball, honestly, underrated. I actually thought Ball was pretty ass. I played not enough data after yesterday because I didn't really run. I ran to one Ball player and we did okay, but I will say Ball is extremely durable. Extremely durable. When you look at the dive options like Doom versus Ball, Ball cannot be headshot when he's rolling around. The projectile buffs didn't really matter in the high end because good players were not gonna miss Ball anyways when he pick and chose when to engage. Like, if I'm a bat player on the old patch and the ball's rolling in front of me, like, I'm not missing. His hitbox is ginormous because I don't have to aim for the head. So that didn't change. And number two, Ball tends to engage and disengage. He rolls away, so he can like get rid of that DPS passive as needed, go pick up a health pack, and then come back in. So he's a lot more disruptive. He does lose the slam into the complete one clip. That only happens mostly in solo queue. I think high level players, believe it or not, like pro players, are actually experimenting scrimming with Ball right now as a dive option alternative to Winston. And they're finding some success with it, which is a big surprise for a lot of people. Plus the fact that Ball's, primary fire did get the projectile buff, and he got armor health. Having extra armor, way better than other forms of health. Plus you added the over health, and Ball has like 1200 HP effectively. He's so durable. And then if you disrupt long enough, plus with the other DPS patch buffs, where all the DPSs are shining this patch, as long as you're doing your job as being a great disruptor, the other DPSs are absolutely cooking. Ball, underrated. I actually think he's like middle or actually above average right now. And then finally, Zarya. I wasn't too impressed with her on the patch. We had one game where their Zarya was cooking, but it was less about the Zarya and more about Zarya playing the enabler, and they just kept bubbling their Genji into our backline with the Zen Orb on him, and the Genji was so hard to deal with. I mean, yes, he has a lot of DPS with energy, but everyone has so much extra HP, so it's also like, and she didn't get any damage scaling or difference really, besides like her beam width, so she feels meh to me, like middle of the pack, maybe below the middle of the pack. Play these two for brawl, this one for poke, and then probably Winston, Ball for dive, sometimes Diva. But you can't go wrong with most picks here except for Roadhog. And not enough data from Alga. I would say these two. And Doom. I don't like these three if I had to pick. Okay, DPS. Ashe. Ashe feels amazing. I don't know what you guys are thinking about Ashe, but Ashe feels incredible. Her dynamite, because it ticks for like a couple of seconds, basically people, if they get hit by a dynamite, they're going to be debuffed with the DPS passive for like, is it 5 seconds of dynamite plus 2 seconds after, because it lingers for 2 seconds. But one of the better hit scans to choose on this patch. I thought Bastion would actually be a lot better when I first read the patch notes, but maybe it's because people haven't really played it yet. Bastion has like 400 effective HP. Isn't he 350 right now? Plus Ironclad, 20% hankiness, always applying the DPS passive when he rolls down, when he when he transformed. It felt like Bastion on paper should have been a lot better, but maybe I don't have enough data. Maybe Bastion is still very good. I saw him for like half a game yesterday, so I don't have a definitive answer. It doesn't seem terrible though. Yeah, he's probably still smoking people, depending on the lobby you're playing in. And obviously if they play like Winston or Ball, like, and you have the right resources for him, he can absolutely still pop off. Not enough data. I'm going to say middle of the pack if I had to guess. Cassidy, surprisingly, pretty good. I know Cass, people say he's kind of like whatever and meh for all the Cass mains, and he was kind of meh last season, but because like heroes like Pharah have to play a lot lower, the fall-off damage isn't as egregious. You can play close range, you're so tanky at 275 HP. The bullet sizes are so big that you're actually able to double dink back to back, 140, 140, super quick. And that's actually like incredibly valuable here if you're hitting back to back headshots, especially at close range, and you can play at close range with your HP. Cass actually feels above average to me. Actually like B+, straight up. Echo also pretty good. She still has assassination with the beam, right? Especially if they get below half health. All her projectiles are bigger now. The beam width, the try shots, duplicate's always good. I think Echo's above average as well. Genji, I'm still kind of mixed on Genji. I actually don't think he's that terrible. Some people are, you know, fall into the whole hyperbole of like, oh my god, Genji, every patch Genji is doomed or whatever and terrible. Out of the Genjis I saw yesterday, they were playing pretty well. The projectile size change for global projectile size change, when a Genji gets up to your face and right clicks or does the secondary fire like triple shuriken fans, like they are hitting. If you're up in the face, you can't miss. I think Genji was low key, kind of sleeper. His blade also has the swing recovery time buff, where yes, the blade still does 110 damage, which is not that much, but the swing speed is kind of good. It does make up for a lot of the other weaknesses as well. It's fast. You get like 2 or 3 extra swings now. It kind of does like a 1-2 pause, 1-2 pause, but it was kind of nice. So I think Genji's actually above average right now. Hanzo, people thought Hanzo would be dead because he loses the one shot with the primary fire, because everyone has 250 health. The headshot now only does 240. Well, honestly, you lose that potential, but everybody else's burst damage got nerfed across, and like consistent damage is more rewarded in this patch. And honestly, Hanzo is way more consistent now because he's shooting tree trunks, bro. The logs are absolutely insane. Storm arrows are so consistent. Besides the primary fire not one-shotting, your storm arrows are on a shorter cooldown by like 20%, 10 to 8 seconds. The thickness of those storm arrows for consistent damage pressure, 75 damage, you can't miss unless you're just bad at Hanzo. I think Hanzo is above average as well. One of the pretty good DPS hero. Now, Junkrat. I played against KMJ yesterday, Kiss My Junk, who was a rank 1 Junkrat in like earlier seasons. And I'm not impressed because a lot of Junkrats in the high level get a lot of their kills being very sneaky and assassinating with the one-shot combo. And the one-shot combo is dead. To be consistent on Hanzo, like if you hit a body shot, you just have to wind up another arrow. But Junkrat hitting back-to-back shots, a third one, is really hard because great Junkrats already set it up with 1 mine into a primary, but if they hit a third primary, that's very hard. Or you have to save an extra mine to, you know, shoot mine into a second mine. I feel like Junkrat is taking a big L this patch. Don't think he's as good. He loses that value. I think in the lower below metal ranks, remember they said gold 3 was the average rank. Gold 3 and below 50% of the player base. I think Junkrat's nades, if they just spam a choke, can be a little annoying to deal with, but like it's not really a problem at the higher elos. And then if you lose that flanking assassin style, you lose a big portion of his value. So I think Junkrat's biggest L this patch on for DPS heroes. Mei, because we were playing a lot of Brawl yesterday, Mei still felt like a menace. She's 300 health. She's basically a pseudo tank. Number 2, the wall is still really annoying to deal with because it's a wall, and like, you know, people's projectile size don't matter if you're shooting. It's all about coordination on shooting the right chunk of the wall. Good Mei walling us off and then still hitting ginormous like icicles for poke. Mei still seems pretty damn solid in Brawl comps. Above average as well. Pharah, not enough data, but my first impression is she's C tier, probably because people aren't good at her yet because she's completely new. You have to relearn all your muscle memory. I played against 2 Pharahs yesterday, no issue at all. She's not playing in the skybox, so fall off damage for hit scans like Ashe and Cass are not an issue, so she's getting absolutely beamed right now in high elo. I expect really good Pharah players to, you know, get better at her and her movement and cover. She may not be as bad as she's perceived right now, but first thoughts, at least the Pharahs I played against, absolutely getting smoked. I think she's way below average. You need way more time to practice on this hero before you whip her out in ranked right now. Reaper, believe it or not, I think Reaper is low-key one of the way above average, like B+, low-key A-. If you're playing like the Orisa or the Ram Brawl and you run a Reaper, oh my god. 300 HP, shotgun pellets always applying the DPS passive, you're self-healing, for self-sustain, so you're not reliant as your teammate as much. You have a free escape, and you're blasting people with 300 HP. I think you completely duel almost all the tanks in the game. You're just absolutely cooking people on Reaper right now. You don't even have to do like the flanking style and try to assassinate a backline. You can just play frontline Reaper, and you're just so durable and so annoying to deal with. I actually think Reaper is really good this patch. Sojourn as well. I mean, this one was obvious. Sojourn got like she double dipped in the buffs because, you know, she's a primary fire with the SMG bullets and then a rail shot. The primary fire bullets SMG shots are thicker, so they're easier to hit, which means you generate more energy, and that snowballs you into getting, you know, more rail shots, and the rails are thicker, so they're more consistent. So top Sojourn players are eating well. Sojourn was really, really good right now. Soldier's also very good this patch, right? Remember, consistent damage is pretty good to keep reapplying the DPS passive. Everyone's getting debuffed. He's a little self-sustainable with, like, you know, his biotic field. I think Soldier's pretty damn solid on this patch, believe it or not. And yeah, Sombra, I have mixed feelings. Was not impressed with Sombra yesterday, but I low-key think in a proper coordinated dive comp, she's still a menace. But she's not something you just pick as like a flex pick. Like, you can just pick Soldier, Sojourn, or like Tracer or whatever in any comp, and it could probably work. But Sombra, she needs the right conditions to accelerate, but without it, not so much, because Virus didn't get like buffed by any means, so it still does that damage. Everyone has so much extra HP. Yes, your SMG does more, but the bullet sizes are bigger, so you're probably doing a bit more damage there. But below average without the right conditions, with the proper comp built around her and high ranks, absolute menace. You probably still see her played in like pro play in right comps, but as a like random solo queue player, tough. If a Sombra showed up behind me, even as me as an Ana, like I have so much extra HP, I'm fine. Symmetra, I actually think Symmetra is pretty good in Brawl only, but she's similar to Sombra, where if the conditions are right, she's an absolute menace. But as a standalone random pick on every map, not the best. It still takes the same time to ramp up the damage, and it's gonna take a little longer to kill because everyone's got that extra HP. I will say the sentry turret zapping people and getting the DPS passive is pretty solid, but I'm still kind of mixed on Sim. I think she's a bit below average right now, overall, if we average it out. The secondary fire projectile size is absolutely massive, though. I think the default size is like 0.5 meters. So like with the buff on the projectile, it's like 0.65. So the poke is pretty okay for the most part. But yeah, definitely below average right now. Maybe in some situations with like a Lucio Brawl and you play like Reaper Sim, sure. But I barely saw any Sim, so I don't really have a great opinion of her. L worse than Junkrat? I don't have enough data, but not enough games, but yeah, I was not impressed. Below average. Torb, above average. Torb, pretty solid. Turret is a DPS passive application machine. His Cheetos are big, so his poke is great. He's no fall off. He has armor, right? And he has so much HP when he presses overload. 400 HP DPS. God damn. He's durable. His shotguns are great pretty good up close, especially with all the extra HP, and yeah, I think Torb is good. We played with a lot of Torbs yesterday. Tracer, I think, is actually really good this patch, despite not being able to one-clip people, because the amount of pressure she applies on different angles. It's so, yes, you can't fully one-clip, but the projectile sizes are so big, you are doing really consistent damage on off angles, still doing Tracer things. 175 HP changes the break point, so she's not randomly one-shot, because most of the DPS heroes didn't get too much of a damage change, so she survives better. But the one time we lost with a really good Tracer on our team is because their Torb turret was in a spot that just kept annoying our Tracer and kept whittling her down, and our Tracer was unable to like fully pop off because the Torb turret was just so annoying to deal with. Tracer is very, very good, still played like a very, very top pick, but I think Torb is also equally good and a great option for Tracer if you don't have the mechanics. Like me, I don't play Tracer, but if I had to play DPS and I can't match their Tracer, I'll just play Torb and just like play to annoy the shit out of her. And then Widowmaker, still player dependent, but absolutely still dominating. One of the only one-shots left in the game. True one-shots, because Hanzo is the closest with 240, I think, but Widow, still a true one-shot without any damage modifiers, like no Discord Orb, no damage boost from Mercy. 300 damage headshot, still kills most of the roster. You know, the top Widows. I was playing, when we 5-stacked with Jay yesterday, Jay was cooking on the Widow. 4Ks on the kill feed at all times. Feels like you have aimbot. These shots are crazy. I aim here. Okay, these bots have like a true hitbox, but something like this. You aim here and you're headshotting people, you know what I mean? For precision-based sniper, if you're like pretty good at Widow, like you're absolutely gonna smoke people. Ana. I still think Ana's pretty solid. I actually don't think she's as great as some of the other picks. She's above average, but no longer like S tier by any means. She didn't get a damage buff, so I have to 4-shot people if I want to be offensive. That's a 200 HP bot, but like, you know, like a regular, like a 250 HP hero is 4 shots. which hurts because like you could sometimes if they peek for just a moment, you only have time for 2 or 3 with a nade or something. So anti still pretty solid, but you know, anti's effect is naturally diminished because all the DPSs have a mini anti. A 20% anti debuff versus a full anti debuff, obviously a big difference, but still it's, you know what I mean? It's like when everything gets scaled up, then like naturally the thing that didn't get scaled is like weaker, relatively speaking. That makes sense. Sleep Dart is amazing though still, right? The form of CC. But like if I solo Sleep Dart, a 250 HP hero, I can't nade shoot them. I have to do an extra shot to fully confirm the kill. So that's why I think Ana's still good, above average, but not S tier. Baptiste, on the other hand, big winner this patch. I cannot miss on this hero. I mean, I play a lot of BAP, and BAP is one of my mains. I have a BAP crutch, but like, I feel like I'm cheating on this hero. I'm still cooking people so hard. I beat Super last night because of Baptiste window, and I just did not miss. He had Queen ult on that new Queen Street, and he was about to cap and win. I knew he was gonna pop his ult soon. I just windowed and just triple dinked him back to back and killed him so fast. Feels amazing. His sustain is still very good. Lamp still very good, of course. Definitely one of the higher tier supports right now if we're going for the main supports. Brig, situational, but Brig's actually not that bad. If people are running that ball, Winston, you can actually still be very annoying. She did get damage scaling, like the swings do more. So I do think Brig is not bad, but she's always been a situational pick against anti-dive and still stays the same. Illari, her projectile size is like still better at launch, but I actually think she's outshined by the other pokey option. Like, I don't think Illari's bad in a vacuum, but if we compare it to the relative scale of the other supports, I think she's on the lower end. She's like below average. If I had to pick like a pokey like archetype between Illari, Kiriko, and Zen, I take Zen Kiri over Illari any day. Zen over Kiri, then Kiri over Illari if I had to choose. There's more options that Kiri gives to your team, and same with Zenyatta. And Illari's like, you know, a DPS ultimate, right? But like DPS ultimate didn't get changed, so the relative power of the boom boom when it pops is not as I mean, those are 200 HP bots, but like, you know, you can't actually like completely explode somebody as often as well. So, and also the HP, the pylon is a 30 flat, right? It's not actually a percentage-based healing thing, so it's also naturally relatively weaker. Lifeweaver? I'm not impressed with Lifeweaver. I think he's fun with fun little like playmaking and quick play, but I think the other supports just got juiced more. Because the projectile size changes, like why play Lifeweaver? Like, I mean, these thorns can be a little annoying to pressure shields, but like people are moving very fast in this game, so you're not gonna consistently be able to hit these on a blinking tracer. So he's still a very defensive oriented support, and because healing has that 20% debuff from DPS heroes, you're not healing as much as you used to on average, and like, you know, DPSs are gonna be applying that debuff everywhere. His whole game, his whole shtick is like pocket healing, so I don't think, oh, I skipped Kiriko, my bad. I just don't think Lifeweaver is a great option right now. He's on the low end, low priority, below like probably C tier. Now I skipped Kiriko because I was talking about her briefly, but I think Kiriko is okay. I played her a few games. You do lose that offensive double dink portion, so like her power level is a little lower than it used to be in that capacity. And believe it or not, the large projectile size is actually sort of a nerf in some ways, because like in a normal scenario this is a headshot, but because the projectile got buffed so much, this ends up being like a body shot, I think. Okay, that one's still a headshot. There's some angles that I saw on Twitter, and like people were saying like you should be headshotting, but because the projectiles are so big, it turns out into a body shot. Okay, so something like this hits her arm. But but the old Kiriko, like here, because it's smaller on the bottom end, it would probably tag her on the head instead, and that would be a headshot, if that makes any sense. If I'm like a natural like Kiriko player aiming for heads, like I have to aim higher than I used to like actually connect the headshot. So it feels a little weird. She's okay, above average still, because Suzu and Kira Kitsune Rush are still fantastic abilities. Not as strong as she was last patch. Lucio's a amazing winner in this patch. I think Lucio is so good, unbelievable in Brawl. The boop changes are crazy good. I got booped across the map. God damn, the 12% buff to that. Boop does damage as well now. He's speedy, the speed to help commit and fully engage. He's never been like a healer option, right? He's like always like a utility kind of base support. So the healing didn't really matter as much with the debuff because his other utility just shines on this patch. I think Lucio is probably one of the best supports this patch. And he's even flexible on dive, right? You can play Kiri, Lucio, dive with Winston and stuff. And the headshots are crazy. Yeah, these Oreos do so much. Aspen, when I was queuing with Aspen and she was on the Lucio, she was farming more damage than me half the time because she's just non-stop just holding this green Oreo button down and just randomly just chipping people away and farming so much damage. Really annoying for enemies to have to like always have to heal that up as well. So like you just have to aim in the general direction and they'll probably walk into it because these things are huge. It's like 0.15 size bigger. Mercy, I mean, people post this shit on Twitter all the time or TikTok where like, oh my god, the projectile size of this is so big. But still, you're not gonna be pulling out your pistol that often in a realistic game at the higher levels. Maybe in Valkyrie in some situations to assassinate a Widow. I'm gonna ignore the projectile size of her thing for a second and just talk strictly. Pocketing someone is not gonna feel as great. It's only 55 HP per second. 20% DPS passive on the person on your DPS that's dueling somebody is how much? Like 10% is 5.5, 11 less. It's 44 HPS when you pocket someone. That's not great. So the healing is not great, but because the damage boost is percent based, 25% and like percentage of certain breakpoints matter more. When everybody gets flat HP buffs, like tanks and supports, like a percentage based damage modifier is inherently more valuable. So like if you have a fantastic Sojourn or Ashe play on your team, you're gonna eat good on Mercy. If not, it's gonna feel really bad when pocketing someone. Yes, she was always dependent on the person she pocketed, but now that's more obvious than ever. That's my interpretation of it. So some Mercies I saw yesterday that I was playing against was not impressive. She didn't do much because the healing wasn't great. But then when I was playing against like a poke, a Hanzo Sojourn, I think on Icon Mall with flats, like that Mercy pocket was so annoying to deal with because a Hanzo was one-shotting me. Too dependent on the players in the lobby. So she's kind of a mixed in the middle of the pack for me. Moira. So I did not play a single game of Moira until I queued with Aspen. She's like, yo, what do you think of Moira? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really see her. She's like, yo, Moira OP this patch. And I'm like, I'll play. And then she's like, I'll play Lucio. You play Moira this game. We played the first game. I played a fucking Moira game in ranked in high lobby and I smoked people with it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Moira is actually really good this patch. Actually one of the best brawl supports. So I was saying BAP is really good, but Moira and BAP, you can alternate. You have a Lucio for Brawl with Orisa, Ram, and Rhine and Queen, and you can actually flex between Moira or BAP depending on your comfortability. And Moira is low-key really good right now. And the reason why, first of all, the lock-on is not really a lock-on. It's like just a range. It's like a 0.7 range buff. So I can aim up here and it'll probably still lock on now, which is better than before. Good players with great tracking wouldn't have really noticed it, but that feels better, number one. Number two, the suck damage is buffed this patch. It's 75 DPS versus 60 DPS. Plus 15 DPS on the suck is actually like a relative scale stronger than the 50 HP DPSs we're getting. Like the time to kill from the old 60 DPS versus a 200 HP hero was worse than the current 75 DPS on a 250 HP hero, if that makes any sense. Moira was actually a winner this patch. You can just play like heal bot version of it, and yes, you won't heal as much if you're shot, but because you're always playing, pretty safe, she's a safe hero. Moira's low-key really, really good. And Zenyatta, the last hero. Zenyatta's a big winner as well. Fantastic in poke. Some brawl comps we were playing with Ryan yesterday, we just played Zen with it because Zen, same with Mercy with the Discord orb, like a percentage-based modifier. Very, very good in a world where all the HP scaled, but because Discord is applied at range and everybody can use it versus Mercy relying on pocketing the right person at the right time. Like a Discord orb is so strong right now. He's extremely tanky, 75 HP extra right now, or sorry, 50 more at 275 is crazy. Snap kick, if they get up close to him, is scaled with the patch too, because snap kick is 50% of your melee damage. Melee got buffed from 30 to 40 damage. 40 damage melee times 50%, because snap kick is 50% more, means it's a 60 damage snap kick plus Discord, so each kick does 75 damage. So I'm just yapping a lot. It's 75 damage a kick. So a regular melee from a person does 40. Zen, if you quickly apply the Discord on someone jumping you, 75 if you get close to me. So Zen's very good. Transcendence, still a fantastic support ultimate to keep yourself alive. So Zen, big winner this patch, top of the line. So the TLDR is, I think, Zen, Moira, Lucio, BAP are the best supports this patch that fit most comps. Ana, sometimes. Ana's just comfortable. Brig situational, Mercy situational, Kiri situational, Illari, Lifeweaver, low end. Probably wouldn't play them right now at all. And that's my 25-minute yap session on the patch and my thoughts. Okay, my opinion may change after a week of playing this patch. We'll find out.